Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to another The Nutrinet video. Raisa here, aka The Nutrinet. So for today's video, I want to, shiny ball syndrome, is that the expression? I just saw someone biking. There's a window here in case you didn't notice. For today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit more about food waste and a very good strategy that I personally have to make sure that I reduce the amount of food that actually gets tossed out in my home. So before getting started, I think it's always good to remember the numbers, right? To understand how big a problem actually is. For you to get a full picture of it, I think that looking at the numbers is actually a very important step. So here are my numbers for you. First one, did you know that about a third of the food that's produced is actually tossed out to the trash, as waste, doesn't get used. And that is just such a high number. Because if you think about it, there are so many people around the world that actually don't have enough to eat every single day. And the fact that a third of what we produce is actually being tossed out, that is insane. And it doesn't only come from supermarkets that have the ugly produce that doesn't get sold, things like that. Believe it or not, it's actually coming from our homes as well. We toss out a lot of food. If you think about it, I want you to think back this week, the week before. What did you toss out? Like really, really give it some thought. Go into your fridge and see what's actually going bad. Look into your pantry. You might realize that actually there's a lot of food that's already past is edibility. So if you think about it, the food that's being thrown out also generates its own global emission, right? So if that portion that actually gets thrown out generates about 8 to 10% of global emission, which doesn't seem like a high number. I don't know if you feel it sounds like a high number, but it's actually pretty darn high, right? So those are two reasons for us to start being a little bit more mindful about what we purchase and how much of it we're actually throwing out, right? That's when conscious consumer comes in again. I've been talking a lot about that term, and here we are again, right? Making sure that you're buying what you need instead of getting super excited with juicing and all of this stuff, like the latest celebrity diet, and then buying a bunch of celery and a bunch of kale and a bunch of things that you typically don't consume or enjoy consuming, and then it just letting it go to waste, right? So today is Friday. I'm making this video on Friday, and I like to make Fridays basically about your leftovers. So the really great thing about doing that strategy, of applying that strategy, is that first you get to have a very easy out of a nourishing meal at home and not have to worry about cooking, right? Because you're just enjoying leftovers. And second, you get to eat everything that you have and make sure that it's not going to waste. So the way that leftover Fridays work is, one, if you have any cooked foods in general, so if you have leftover lentils, leftover grains, whatever you have, meats, fish, whatever, that day, honestly, just put everything in your plate, heat it up, and just enjoy it. Get all of that food into your body, into your system, and nothing goes to waste. Now, if you're tired of eating the same thing the entire week, a really good strategy that I use is actually mixing everything in a bowl, in a baking tray. Then you can season it in a different way if you want, or you can top it with some cheese. You put it in the oven for about 30 minutes on a preheated 350. That should be enough to heat everything. And you'll get a completely different dish, and it will be delicious. And it's an easy way out, and you're also avoiding food waste. So that's in the case if you have cooked meals ready to go. If you don't, if you have leftover fruits from the week, I encourage you guys, to make a delicious juice or smoothie. That is a really good way to concentrate nutrients at once. Typically, I'm not one to encourage to have juice all the time, just because when it comes to fruits, it's always better to eat it instead of juicing it, just because it's less sugar that you're consuming at once. And also, juicing can lose some of the fiber in the process, depending how you juice, right? So if you use a juicer, yes, you're losing a lot of the fiber, which is really good for us. So yeah, if it's a juice, like in the end of the week, it's like that time that it's like, okay, let's enjoy a juice, you know? So if you have leftover oranges, just squeeze them, lemons. If it's like bananas or things like that, you can either chop them and freeze them so you can put into a smoothie later on, or you can just make your fresh smoothie. If you're into baking, also a lot of fruits go very well into, you know, that's actually when they thrive for you to add into your baked goods. So there's a lot to do, but keeping it simple, like the concept of leftover Fridays, right? So if it's cooked food, you're gonna put it in the oven, eat it like that. If it's fresh fruits, make a juice or a smoothie. And now we're going to vegetables. So if you have a lot of leftover veggies here and there's like half an onion, a few tomatoes, like a potato here and there, like your leaves, especially like spinach, kale, all of that that's going to waste, just put everything into a big pan and cook it with water, or you can also do a veggie broth. Those are really great options, and you just make your own soup, right? So it's the same concept of juice. You're getting a very concentrated form of vitamins, of minerals, of antioxidants, and you're also avoiding the food waste. So soups in general, you can have it two ways, right? So you can have it either just like cooked veggies, or you can also cream it by blending it. I really like the creamed version because like I think that the flavor just gets very well incorporated. Now for your soups, if you want, you don't only have to stick to veggies. If you have like leftover lentils, you can also toss it in there. Even if you have leftover grains, you can see a lot of soups that have like pasta, that have rice, so you can play around with it, get creative, and transform your dishes, right? That's the whole beauty of having already food at home. Instead of just making something new from scratch every time, you can just start repurposing foods and just transforming them into different dishes. So the base will be the same, but the end product can be completely different. And once you start getting the confidence, once you start adopting this method, you'll start seeing that it'll come easier, right? It'll almost be like your instinct. It'll be your second nature to, okay, I have this leftover, that, so I can make this with it. I like introducing the soup method because that's just a very easy way, without having to think of anything, to just put everything in a pan. If you're working from home, this is something that you can easily set the timer so you don't forget about it. So set the timer, put it in like medium heat, make sure that nothing is gonna overflow, right? Because you have to remember that when water starts to boil, it can get a bit messy, right? So just a few little notes here and there. But again, the more you get into the habit, the more you're gonna get into your groove. I just want to really always preach and introduce the concept of leftover Fridays, right? So many benefits to it. Mainly gives you a very easy way out of using all your leftover foods without getting bored of what you have from the week, and also avoids food waste. So there goes my tip for you. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Let me know if you adopt leftover Fridays, what you like to do. I would love to know what is your usual go-tos, and I'd even love to share with the rest of the Nutrinet community. All right, bye.